Hello there, and welcome to another podcast with me, your host, Carol Swords. These podcasts have been created in order to help people who are sort of beginning or in the early phases of their writing career and their efforts to promote and market their work to a wider audience, in the hope that it gets read and that in some cases they are able to carve out a living or part-time living for themselves through their craft and their talent. So today we're talking about interviews. Now, I am not the king of the interview circuit when it comes to being an author, but I have done some, and I've also had to put in some work to getting them. And I'd like to just outline my experience of having done so and see if it helps you at all. Where did I find people that were interested in interviewing authors? Well, the one place that I've used so far that I've found people is in the Goodreads community. Goodreads, we've already had a sort of a discussion or a podcast related to Goodreads, so you can click on that at any stage to find out more. But basically, the interviews I have gotten so far are from other authors. Authors who have their own website, they have their own books, they have their own interests, but they're using their website as a means to promote other authors, as well as, I guess, to keep having material on their own website, because there is a lot of people out there looking for promotion, they're looking for ways to market themselves, and interviews are fairly tried and tested, and so these people are always going to have probably a reasonably steady stream of people who want to be interviewed on their website. So it's good for your website as well, because there's always going to be traffic, and as I understand it, the search engines prefer websites that are being updated a lot over websites that are not being updated at all. So it's great in that respect, and it's something that I'd be encouraging myself to do, and I was actually thinking of setting up a writer's corner or hovel or nook and cranny, whatever you like to call it, based on my own experiences, and I'm going to let you, as that pans out or doesn't, let you know what happens with it. But let's talk a little bit about how I got them. So we've got Goodreads. Now you go to an authors group and you'll find somewhere in that group, not every group does have this section, but authors either advertising their book or in this case advertising the desire for interviewees. And that's where I found the 3 interviews that I've given so far. Now, you could do an interview through Smashwords, which is basically just an extension of your profile. Smashwords being the online distributor that gets your books into many of the other stores, including Apple, Kobo, and Nook. So you could put one there. You can also put one on your website if you feel like it too, but in terms of getting out to new readers or other readers, going to someone else's website and doing an interview seems like a pretty good idea. So usually what you'll have to do is answer their questions. They'll send you the questions, you write out your answer, and then you send it back to them. And depending on how long the waiting list is, you could be out in a couple of days, or you could be scheduled to come out or have your interview published on the website in a year. And I've had both of those things happen. Some of the questions are quite similar, so potentially you can use the same answers going up on another website. I mean, there's pros and cons to that, right? I mean, the pro is that you don't have to spend all day answering questions, so you can get back to doing other things. I guess one of the cons would be that as people find an interest in you and look into your work and want to get to know a bit more about you, they'll end up hearing the same questions and the same answers. It's not unknown. I mean, if you watch anyone who's doing interviews, they often repeat themselves or have to come up with new ways of saying the exact same thing. So, I mean, it's not like you'd be the first person to be repeating yourself, but it is a consideration nonetheless. People probably would like to hear new stuff. Whether you can provide it all the time is another matter. So you get your questions, I write the answers, you send it back with some links to your own website, to your author profile, wherever that may be, on your own website or on your Amazon author page, Smashwords author page, and then any other links that you feel are relevant, as well as a photo. Always have a photo of yourself and whatever your latest work is. That's kind of mainly what you do. I have also done one video interview, and video interviews are grand. They're another kind of medium. They're another way of getting yourself out there, and the visual element is obviously something that people have gotten used to and that they like to see sometimes. So to break it up, if you can get a video interview, I'd recommend it. But of course, the quality of the audio and the quality of the visual has to be pretty good. People aren't going to listen to a very bad, grainy sounding audio with like shaky webcam or shaky hand cam footage. You've got to make it look more professional than that, or else they're just going to turn off. And you've also, if you're going to do the recorded interview, you've got to, prepare a little bit more. You can go off track a little, but if you're meandering through the thing, nobody's going to probably stick with it very long. And got to project. You've got to breathe properly. You've got to not be moving around too much, because the sound might get picked up by the different recorder that you're using. It takes a little more time. You wouldn't do it probably for every single interview that you're ever going to do, because you have to send the video. It's not like somebody comes to your house and then does all the editing and work on it themselves later. And the less you have to give the other person to do, the more likely that your interview is going to go up quicker. So try as much as possible, if you're doing a video interview, to cut down on the mistakes. Maybe edit it yourself a little beforehand. I edited the audio from my digital recorder with the audio from the camera, because the camera's audio wasn't that good. That left a lot less things for the interviewer to have to do to put it up on their website, and made it easier for my interview to go up quicker. So make sure that you give them as little to do as possible. Now, some of the people giving interviews just basically tell this, the story of what their book is, and you got to carve out sort of an interest in yourself. People aren't going to want to hear the same sort of questions answered the same kind of way every time. Just will put them to sleep. So you've got to either be a bit funny or a bit more insightful, because there is loads of authors looking to give interviews, and while there is a certain number of people who are willing to take any interview almost, the thing is, nobody's going to want to listen to your boring spiel the whole time. So try and make it a little unusual in some fashion or another. I think this is important. Interviews are important. If you can get some, it's great. But honestly, you're going to need to probably do 40 or 50 or 100 interviews on different websites for it to really push sales up. I've done 3 or 4 now, and I haven't really seen any great jump in the interest in my work. And I think that's probably because there could be just that people aren't clicking on the interview, or they're not clicking further after the interview. They've seen it, they didn't like it, they don't care, bye. But there could also be an issue with, if I was to start up doing interviews now, I don't know how many people would end up clicking through that interview to buy that author's book, because I don't have a huge audience yet. And I'm being honest, that's the website doesn't have lots and lots of people checking it out. So, I could start doing interviews, but how many people are going to get anything out of, new readers out of the interview? I don't know. And I feel that might be happening with some of these other interviews. There mightn't just be enough people looking at that website in order for it to translate into massive sales, because for every 1,000 people who watch it, maybe 1 or 2 or 3 will be interested in checking out your stuff, or maybe a few more, but then only maybe 1 or 2 will be interested in actually buying it. So you've got to really have thousands of people looking at these interviews constantly in order for you to have a chance at some major sales. So while you're just going to, at the start, take whatever interviews you can, and you should probably do any and all interviews, whether they're on radio, whether they're visual, like video ones, or whether they're just written, take them all. But don't expect a massive jump in sales straight off the bat. It's good as an additional piece to helping people get to know what you're about, but it's not going to be enough on its own to make any major sales. That's at least my experience of it so far. Having said that, do them, spread the word about the website and the interview in particular, and hopefully the other person, the interviewer, will have enough of an audience, be it on Twitter, be it on their own website, be it through other social media sites, that they can grab you a few readers. I mean, it's working. Hopefully it's going to work out for everyone. But just set your expectations accordingly. Well, folks, look, we'll leave it there for today. I don't want to flog the dead horse. If you like the podcast, please check out the others. Subscribe, so that you can be made aware of any new ones. And there's links aplenty to the other stuff I've written. Also, you want to make a donation, please do. We'd much appreciate it. And by we, I mean me. So take care of yourselves and each other. I've been Carul Swords. I'm still Carul Swords. Goodbye.